What up, everybody? Chris here with Salty Island, and tonight I've got with me Clint over from Snickernack Studios. What up, Clint?
What's going on?
All right, and Clint has been super kind to not only let me restream this here on YouTube, but also to paint my great mistake, which is buying way more terrain than what I previously thought was necessary for Infinity. So, uh, actually, what I wanted to do tonight here is, in addition, we're just gonna kind of watch Clint, but I kind of wanted to get a chance to talk with him and help anybody out who's brand new. Um, like what most people start out, you paint miniatures, you collect miniatures, but at some point you've got a shit ton of miniatures, and you need a table to play on, and you can only play with cardboard boxes and soda cans for so long. Uh, so I just kind of wanted to turn it over to Clint and kind of just start with when it comes to painting terrain, is it different than painting like miniatures? Like what's kind of the thought process to that?
Yeah, it's actually very different because you're doing rather large things. So instead of getting just like a pot of paint here or something like that, you're going to need a ton of paint. Um, Kind of going through some of the different ways of actually getting it prepared as well is a little bit different. As we see here, I'm literally going to mix a big old batch of paint. Normally, if you're doing like a little miniature or anything like that, you put it on a wet palette, get a little brush full or whatnot, and that should be fine for your little bit. Terrain takes up a lot of paint. A lot of people actually will do um, like the apple barrel paints and stuff that you can get from Walmart or like your local not hobby store, just because you go through so much freaking paint. This though, I'm using GW. That is Mechanica Standard Gray, because I actually do like that gray. This is going through a Badger airbrush. That one's specifically the chrome, but any medium airbrush would work fairly well. You definitely want to be doing airbrushing with something this big because it will help prevent having a lot of brush marks, and it will save you a ton of time. Um, Trying to just do this one building here with a brush probably would have took 4 times as long, maybe a little bit longer, and even more paint. Because the nice thing with an airbrush is you actually use less paint and get more coverage because of how it sprays.
So actually, on that thought here with the airbrush, obviously a lot of people you don't necessarily airbrushes aren't cheap. You need quite kind of a lot to jump into it. Can you just rattle can it? Like, is there a reason to airbrush versus rattle can?
You can rattle can it. You're not going to get some of the detail that you can, like the cool little highlighting and stuff that you'll see me do here in a little bit with the air vents and stuff like that. But yes, like these big pieces here, like that, uh, I guess, platform. You could rattle can that, and it would have been just fine. And the big boxes and anything like giant like that, you can rattle can. Depending upon what your terrain's made out of, though, especially if it's styrofoam, do not rattle can it because the accelerant will eat the foam.
Right? Pro tip on that. I'm sure we've all learned that one. All right. So with the black, what is that? Is that just black primer?
So that is black primer. That's specifically Stalinres from Badger. It's probably my favorite auto leveling airbrush slash brush on primer. You can order it, I believe, from Amazon. You can get giant bottles of it if need be. You can get smaller bottles as well. They also will come in multiple colors now. I prefer the black because black primers generally my go-to. But if you wanted to start off with colored primer, you can pick up any of the multitude of different colored primers that they have now.
Nice. All right. As we're watching you kind of hit uh, this this box here. So you're kind of following the lines. Obviously, is that kind of by intent? Like you kind of make an effect off of that?
Not on this part right here. This was kind of me just portioning it out, so I didn't just do like a straight line all the way across and maybe not have all the coverage that I needed. So I kind of worked in smaller areas just to make sure I hit everything as evenly as possible.
Nice.
And then going down the line just gave me a nice solid line to kind of go through, and you can see me kind of like filling in with areas here. You could just go straight across, but I feel sometimes I'd miss a little bit, and it wouldn't have complete coverage like I did, or like I wanted to with doing like some of these smaller areas.
I mean, it definitely makes sense. You also kind of avoid those big long streak lines that you might get.
Yeah, the other problem is if you keep an airbrush in an area for too long, especially with MDF, you could have it start soaking in more of the paint, and it can actually swell and make the nice little slots actually not work very well. So you do need to be careful with how much you put on, especially with like a rattle can too. If you just soak that area just to make sure you got like everything covered, you can warp the board because it's wood. It's gonna bring in that moisture, and now those nice little slots where you can put the cool accessories and stuff, it's not gonna fit right.
Alright. Good to know. I'll probably remember that. Alright. So as you can see, this part's pretty quick, pretty simple. Just blast some color on there. What kind of airbrush are you using again on this one?
So that is the Renegade Chrome from Badger. I picked that one because it was kind of right in the middle of needle size, which affects how big your spray pattern is going to be. I probably should have used my other Badger on that one, but I'm having some issues with that one. The bigger the needle size is, the bigger the spray pattern, so the more paint just flows out of the airbrush. But this one also can do the detailing that I'm going to do here once I finish doing all the spots on this one. That way I'm like transferring between different airbrushes and things like that.
Very cool. There you go, some insight. I'll throw down a link down in the description below if you guys are interested in checking out this airbrush. Clint's got this one. I don't know, what is it that I have? Is that the one that I have?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Alright, so yes, I personally like this one, especially if you're brand new to airbrushing. I found it super easy to use. So I'll throw a link down for anybody who's also interested in getting into airbrush. It's pretty intuitive once you kind of get your hands on it and play around with it a little bit. This is one of those vents that we got.
Yeah. So I actually really like doing the vents. The vents were pretty fun, especially when you start getting into the detailing and stuff. It actually got pretty cool looking pretty fast once we switched over to the other coloring. One of the issues that I ran into a bit was GW paints don't like to airbrush quite as much. I probably should have made just a huge batch instead of these small little batches that I ended up doing on this.
Are you talking about like the GW air paints, like their airbrush specific ones?
This was an air paint. This was their standard Mechanicus.
Okay, so you just like cut it with water.
Yeah.
Nice. Did you know actually? Okay, so side comment here for also people who are interested in this terrain. Did you know that that's a window?
So that's the great thing with paint. You can actually go back and fix that.
Yeah. Well, the reason I ask is I was watching your stream also, and you were commenting on, oh, it's like a cool little like accessory piece, and then you started painting the middle. If you were not, I thought I had mentioned to you, but it comes with black, like acrylic. So all right here where you're painting behind this window, it really does not matter because it's just gonna be covered by black.
Well, and that's fine because you can also choose for it not to be a window, and you can have that be kind of whatever you want.
That's true, right? Yeah, you could do something else with it. That is actually a true statement on that. But yeah, I'm not sure what it'll. I guess we'll have to see once it's done on that one.
Because they're the acrylic pieces that go there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is also like I didn't realize they were black acrylic because there's like paper covering them so it doesn't get scratched. Yeah, I peeled one off and it's actually black acrylic, so it's not clear made. So obviously, if you didn't paint it, like you wouldn't be able to see the MDF behind it.
No, that's good, and it gives you kind of a difference because you can actually like do battle damage and terrain on that, and you could actually like break out.
Nice. Yeah, if you want like a cracked glass or something.
Yeah, you could do like a cracked glass, and then you'd have stuff behind it.
Nice.
Instead of it just being so like this right here. I know there's going to be a door on that. That's why I left it and didn't prime it there. I took the door off because it was moving just enough to where I wouldn't be able to get a nice color underneath it. And if you looked at it at a certain angle, you would see that it was just
you can see like a little bit of the board behind it, yeah.
So that's why I took it off, but I didn't completely get it. I just got the area where I knew the door was going to sit.
Right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, that's pretty good. What are you looking at over here? Looking at the door. Oh, you're probably commenting on that. There you go.
I'm actually commenting exactly on that right there in the video.
Yeah. So I guess that's the other thing is when our intention when we're going to be doing this is we're going to be sort of making it a static board. That's the general idea. So some of the pieces will be fixed on. Some of them, like the accessories, we might keep it a little bit more flexible. But things like doors might be kind of just in a fixed spot like that. Here's where you're kind of doing the highlight. So what's up with, like, I mean, you've probably seen this on like demo pieces and whatnot. But what's the idea with doing this?
All right, so the idea of doing straight in the middle is getting kind of the highlight area, because with it kind of being a board with light coming everywhere, we could have done it in a very stylistic, the only one light source is coming in and you do it that way, but then the buildings have to be set up in a very specific way. All of them have to be turned a very specific way, and to prevent that, if you just highlight everything and also kind of hit everything equally, then the board can kind of be whatever you want it to be. That's why I'm doing the top on this one, because there might not be stuff on the top of this one. If there is, cool, it got covered. If not, then it has and sits on the highlight. Right now this is using administrative gray as well.
Oh, yeah.
And I did the circle pattern because light's actually circular, and we're doing it right in the middle, and I'm not really going too far out because those slots there are probably going to have stuff. If they don't, that's fine. It still looks like it got highlighted. But if there's stuff there, then it's still going to show up that, hey, there's light here hitting this, but it can cover some of the areas, like when we put the air ducts and stuff on.
Right. That cheating tactics straight from pro painter. You're pro, right? Ish.
I mean, people pay me, so sure.
It's pro enough. Are we going to color the buildings, like the actual, put some color on, or is the color going to mostly go on to the accessory pieces?
So, looking at a lot of the concept art and stuff that we're trying to base this off of, a lot of the actual building are just gray, but all the accessory pieces are colored, mainly primary colors. So I think we're just going to have the accessories turn into the color part of that, and the building parts themselves can just be the flat gray.
Nice. Okay, yeah, that works.
That and it cuts down on painting.
That's true also. That is one other thing for people who also are interested in terrain. It's one of those I've learned can get really out. It's not like a miniature, right? It's not like building an army where you can be like, I need 10 Space Marines for this unit. I buy it in a box of 10. That's not really how terrain works. Terrain you kind of buy in pieces, and then you put it on your table, and hopefully you have enough pieces to cover. And the more pieces you have, obviously, the more variety you're going to get. There is a point where you get a little over-eager and buy a few too many pieces. Okay, it's true. That's not a point. There's not a point. That is true.
It's just more tables.
It's just more tables, but my intention was to build a 4x4 table for Infinity. I think we can probably pull off a 6x8 table.
I think you can pull 3 4x4s off and
3
still
4x4s?
have a decent amount of terrain.
And still have some terrain? We'll see. I mean, what I would like to do, since we have also this much terrain, and Clint has so graciously agreed to help paint said terrain, we are going to be also leaving it at Snickernack Studios as a demo thing for them also. So it's 50-50. But I would like to do one gigantic table, like get one custom mat, make just one huge table for like a demo for display, which would be...
Yeah. So right about that part is where I was running into some issue with my compressor. So hopefully the new one's coming in shortly, and I'll be able to continue on.
Very nice. Well, what's your stream?
You can get us at twitch.tv/Snickernack_studios. Or you can follow us on all the social medias, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all Snickernack Studios, except for Twitter because they put a cap and it's just Snickernack S.
Really?
Yes.
That's awesome. By awesome, I mean thanks, Twitter. Fucking
Yeah.
assholes. All right, well, thanks for coming in and hanging out. Thank you for painting in this terrain. We're going to continue to show in-progress pics. I got to get back to building the rest of it. Like, literally, I've only done half of it so far. I'll also throw up links and some times when Snickernack will be streaming again once they get back in swing.
So she just changed her schedule. She's going to be doing Monday, Wednesdays at noon Pacific Standard.
What do you normally do?
So I'm waiting for that compressor, but normally I'm doing Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Pacific.
Nice. All right. Well, there you guys have it. Definitely check them out. They're going to be doing a lot of stuff, including my terrain, but they'll be doing other stuff as well, miniatures, whatever they're working on. So please check them out. Please support them. Appreciate everyone watching this. Check you guys later. Peace out.